Hey guys, it's James here, and I'm here to talk about one of my favourite bass gadgets of all time. That is the D Xtender. If you're not familiar with what a D Xtender is, make sure you check this lesson out because it's going to add some options to a regular 4-string bass which are really very cool. I'll see you on the other side. Hey guys, it's James here from eBassGuitar.com, and I'm here to talk about one of my favourite bass gadgets of all time, and it's a very simple device that's called the D Xtender. And what the D Xtender is, it's this little lever here on the E string. So what I've done is I've replaced this tuner here with a Hipshot D Xtender, and what that does is it detunes the lowest string by a whole step. So let me demonstrate. And the really cool thing is it gives us a bunch more possibilities, which I'm going to show you in just a second. I first discovered this amazing little gadget from a guy called Neil Murray. Neil is a fabulous rock bass player here in the UK. He played with Queen, he played with Whitesnake, Black Sabbath, I mean real rock kind of bass royalty. And I was depping, as we call it in the UK, because he used to play on the Queen show We Will Rock You when it was in London's West End, our equivalent of Broadway, and I used to dep for him, so I'd cover the show when he wanted a night off. The American expression for that is sub. So at that particular period of time, if I wanted those notes or I needed those low notes, I'd have to play a 5-string bass. But Neil had these D Xtenders on his bass, and what it does is it takes it down a tone, as I said earlier. He had apparently been using these since the 70s, and kind of the old school way of doing it was to actually tune your bass, which is still a perfectly sort of valid option, but this lever just gives you great sort of flexibility, and you can nip in and out of detuning literally at the flick of a lever. And I remember him used to doing it like in like a 2-bar break for the end of a song. I think it was something like One Vision. He just wanted to hit a low E flat at the end of it, and so there was, I can't remember, it must have been a drum break or something like and in the process he'd go down and flip the switch like that and just hit that low, and it was such a great impressive sound. But a lot of you may be asking, well, what's the point of that when I can play a 5-string bass and get even more notes? The thing for me is that this D Xtender has a totally different flavour to it, because what it does is it loosens the string, so it's effectively a lot more floppy. Okay, the tension is totally different to what the E string normally is, and it gives it a totally different tonal flavour to actually playing a D on a 5-string, and as a result it makes you play a little bit differently. So the track that I always used to use this device on, and it always used to scare me a little bit, because what happens is all the fingering patterns change a little bit from what you're used to, and so you have to slightly relearn things, but it was on Fat Bottom Girls on the show, and what you can do is you get this great floppy, flappy sound, which I love, and you can zoom up to the 12th fret to get the octave and give it a really big vibrato like that. I urge you to try this. If you're a 4-string player, you could literally just detune this by a tone and you'll get exactly the same effect. But this little gadget just gives you a lot of, you can just zoom in and out. It's convenient, that's the word I'm looking for. So that's the first kind of option I'll use it. I'll show you another couple of moments where I regularly use the D Xtender, because as you know, I'm a bit of an avid 4-string bass player at the moment. That might change in due course, but I've been on 4-strings now for 4 or 5 years, like solidly. So I'm really comfortable with how they feel. So another example of where I might use this is on the song Superstition, which is sat on a low E flat for the most of it, particularly if you're playing in the original key. Some guitarists will put it up into E because it works better on the guitar, but if you're playing with brass, etc., they will want to have it in E flat because it works so much better on their instruments. So what I will do is, rather than playing the E flat there, I will then detune there, and this will take us down to a D, and so the 1st fret will then become an E flat. So like that. So the challenge is that the fingering patterns start to change a little bit. So the shapes, the standard L shape for the octave then changes a little bit. So it can mess with your head a little bit, I find sometimes, but you just have to learn this new fingering. And once you get it down, it's really, really kind of rewarding. So another example of where I've used this is on the disco tune Ain't No Body, the Shaka Khan thing, because that's originally synth bass, but sometimes we play it live with a real band, and that's another E flat tune again. So it does that. That's the original line. If I put the D up, actually, you'll see. So the line's something like that. So what happens is that B there is going to have to shift up an octave to compensate for dropping the D a little bit. So let me just demonstrate first of all. Like that. But what we can now do is gab the low E flat down there so we can get this slightly more synthy sound. But you'll notice that the octave shape changes. Rather than being that shape, it is now that shape to compensate for that. But it's another really cool sound. Then the so do try this stuff out. I just want to sort of give you a little kind of moment of light bulb and just go, that's something cool I should try. And if you're like me and you really fell in love with using this gadget, I really do suggest buying one and trying one out. It's well worth the money, and those little moments where you can get those extra 2 low notes and have those different shapes on the neck and have the E string responding really differently. So that's a little lesson on using the D Xtender. The brand I use is Hipshot there. I think all the Sadowski hardware is all Hipshot. Hipshot is amazing. Hipshot is amazingly well-made hardware. Really good, really solid and dependable stuff. And they do these D Xtenders. So if you're going to buy a brand, I'd recommend that. I'm sure there are others on the market which do an equally good job. I'm not affiliated to them, but I've just used their stuff a bunch over the years and it works really well for me. So guys, that was the lesson on the D Xtender. I really hope you enjoyed that lesson. As I said, it literally is one of my favourite bass gadgets of all time. I love the tonal possibilities it can bring to the bass and the additional notes. It's very, very cool. I'd love you to comment below and tell me what your favourite bass gadget is. It could be a pedal, it could be all sorts of things. It could be your gig bag. What makes your life easier or more exciting as a bass player? Please do comment below and let me know. Also, please do give us a like and a share on social media if you've enjoyed this lesson. Once more, I've been James from eBassGuitar and I will catch you next time. See you later. Bye bye.